guys. I'm Jenny. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Free Will. What we do at Free Will is we offer literally free wills, free online wills and estate plans. And we make it really easy for people to give charitably. So people actually donate 6 times more on our platform than the national average. It's especially exciting because we've been able to raise $620 million for charity in just about a year. And we're just getting started. We're going for $1 trillion. But let me take a step back. I was not born an entrepreneur, much less a social entrepreneur. If there's one thing that people talk about with entrepreneurship, it is all selling. And I hated selling. In fact, I was such an introvert, I didn't even really like talking to people that much. And I'm on stage right now and I'm kind of sweating. I remember when I was 10, in my public schools, every year they would run these fundraising campaigns. And so you would go out and sell these magazines and books in order to raise money for the school. I hated this time of year. Part of it was I was worried, like maybe adults only make money by selling things. If that were the case, I'd honestly probably rather be poor. But the other part of it might have been a little bit cultural. I remember my white friends would take their catalogs to their parents, and their parents would bring them to work, and their colleagues would make all these orders, and the kids would trade them for prizes. And I remember there was one year that I thought it would be a good idea to ask my parents to bring the catalog to work. My dad sat there and immediately started shaking his head. But he didn't say anything because he was deferring to my mother. So my mother took a long pause, and she looked at me and she said, "Honey, is it okay if we just buy one subscription?" And that was the end of that. It was a merciful end for all of us. They picked the best deal in the catalog, Reader's Digest, every year 95% off. And it was a moment that I realized my parents really didn't like selling either. So fast forward 15 years. I'm at Bain Capital, a prestigious private equity firm, and I thought that I'd won the lottery. I learned that people pay you for other things besides selling, like math, a subject that I actually really liked. Math, there's a right or wrong answer, and I liked being right. But in investing, there's also right and wrong answer. Most investments are bad investments, and our job is to find every single weakness in that investment before that money is deployed. The sad part is that that judgment started going from my day-to-day job into the way that I thought about people too. The conversation started with, that CEO wasn't on top of his numbers in that corporate meeting. I don't know if he's rigorous with the rest of his company too. To things that sounded more like, my best friend's boyfriend couldn't explain the business model of a startup very well. He might be a lazy husband and father. I realized I started sounding like my mom, and although most comparisons with my mom I gladly accept, this was not really one. I was also thinking, hey, maybe all this inequality is justified if I give it all back. At the time, I was very enamored with Peter Singer's effective altruism movement. The idea was basically this. You do what you do really well, something that you're comfortable with and good at. Get economically compensated for that and give it all to charity. And that this model, in fact, might be more impactful than if you work directly with that charity. I really believed in this, and I thought it was my way to have my cake and eat it too. So I set up meetings with each of the partners at my firm. And this was a firm that was very, very philanthropic. In fact, if you put all their charitable giving together, they're probably one of the most philanthropic firms in all of the Northeast. I remember one meeting in particular. It was with the most senior partner at the firm. He was a legend. He had basically single-handedly taken a charity to be one of the top 20 biggest charities in North America. So I'm sitting there, sweating, looking at the sky, really nervous, and I asked him, why did you pick this charity? And he tells me a story. He said that he and his wife were in business school, and they were walking down the hall and they saw a flyer. And the flyer described this charity, so they started volunteering there. As their careers grew, their participation in the charity did as well. And that's how it became the big thing that it was. I really wanted to walk out of that meeting feeling really inspired. He had done a great thing for a really important cause. But instead I was kind of disappointed. These investors, these men of commerce, if they put their money in firms that they saw on flyers in the subway, I would not have a job. And it was very odd to me that the most impactful thing potentially that they were doing with their lifetimes, they weren't giving nearly the rigor that they were to their day-to-day jobs. Why was that? And I started to lose faith that if I kept going in this path, that I would be any different. Fast forward 4 more years, and I'm here at Freewell. I've learned a lot about philanthropy, about how to nudge people to give thoughtfully. I've also learned a lot about selling and talking to people. But the biggest way in which Freewell has transformed me is my job is no longer to look for weaknesses, it's to look for strengths. As an entrepreneur, people tell you no all day long. Investors say no, potential customers say no, people you want to hire say no. You're like, take my money, no. It can be really demoralizing, and your job is to hold on to that glimmer of strength. It's also changed the way that I think about things and people. My job is to find the strengths in every individual that I work with and figure out how to enhance that. Sheryl Sandberg famously said that leadership is about making people better as a product of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. Happily, now I get to work on a topic, legacy giving, that behaves much in the same way. People donate 5 or 10% of their estate when they pass away, but that gift on our platform averages to $90,000. That's 3 times the cumulative lifetime giving that the average person gives while they're alive. It's an opportunity to make an impact because of your presence that lasts way longer than your time here on Earth. And I've also learned that you don't have to do sales or talk to people in order to be a leader. You don't even have to be an entrepreneur. Thoughtful giving and being generous about the way that you think about people, focusing on their strengths and not just their weaknesses, can be leadership. Thank you.